Yeah, I represent Tata Solar. Yeah, we are engaged for over 3 decades now in the manufacturing of solar cells, modules. We run and maintain over 10 gigawatts of utility scale projects, 1.3 gigawatts of rooftops, about a lakh of solar pumps, and maybe 150 plus microgrids in some remote hamlets in India. Right. So with that background, let me address those questions that Mr. Giri has mentioned now. In terms of technology intervention, right? So I think renewables have come a long way, and you talk about solar, you talk about wind. You all talk about the storage solutions, mainly the pumped hydro. The battery storage is the latest cousin that has got added in. And I would say that yes, now gone are the days where we were talking individually about grid parity and all. So all these technologies are pretty much commercialized, and it has reached what I call as a point of harmony. Now we are looking beyond as the size is going up. So we are trying to see that how do we blend, and the present and even the future is going to be more on those kind of 24 by 7 RTC solution, as we say, more hybridized, and a sustainable and more predictable kind of renewable energy. So I think the sun, wind, and the storage all will shake hands. So this is there wouldn't have been a more better time to talk about technology interventions when we are trying to look at this kind of that sangam, as we say, of all these individually well-versed technologies. So talking more specific about solar and storage, I would try to put these technology interventions in primarily like 5 buckets, let's say. So one is primarily the solar module itself, right? So thanks to those wonderful schemes of the PLIs, the Atmanirbhar schemes, etc., right? So the localization has been the mantra in most of renewables. I think we heard about wind, and solar is also not far behind. So there will be a lot of technology interventions that we need to aspire in the solar modules itself. So we have solved a hygiene factor of saying, yes, I will start manufacturing in India in big scale. But then our aim should be, I would be the most preferred manufacturing hub for the world, right? I think that's the next step, which is not impossible. And that's the dream what we need to have. Now, this creates a lot of unanswered questions, like how do I become the preferred manufacturing hub? Obviously I have to be technology oriented. I have to really look at how can I make the best technology of the super high efficiency, the globally best LCOE, the lower levelized cost of energy that we can get on the solar modules. So our dream or aim should be much more than just production, right? When it comes to supply chain, I'll talk about certain import dependency, but not to lose the focus on technology intervention. The second one is on the storage part, right? So as I said, it's the latest cousin that has got added into it. I think there should be more emphasis on a strategic point, because we have seen certain spikes of a 1 gigawatt hour, 2 gigawatt hour, 3 gigawatt hour kind of BESS tenders that have been coming up in the country. And what is more important, because I go back to the journey of solar, the journey of wind. It started in a humble way, and then the technology got established parallelly, certain manufacturing base established, and then we moved into larger scale. But it seems to be defying the laws when it comes into the battery storage, right? So my thought, it's a personal thought, that on storage we have to give more emphasis to these behind the meter aspects initially, which will go very well with the EV business. The automotives are into EV. The same set of cells and the similar kind of form factor is being, is feasible in the residential sector and also in certain small scale and C&I sectors. So that would allow a steady flow of, the demand in the market, demand creation. It will also engage those developers, the OEMs rather, to set up shop and start manufacturing in India, right? So we've been engaged with several top OEMs, and they always have this hesitancy that the BESS is coming as huge spikes in those big tenders, and the price points are also too aggressive, and it's not allowing us to set shop and start in a steady way. So this is something where we may need maybe a policy intervention as well as the technology intervention to take it forward. The third bucket, I would say, is distributed energy. So as we all see that, the things people say, the consumer becoming prosumer and all, I think the time has come where these renewables are no more an R&D subject. There is a lot of pull effect in the market. So we have to very well utilize this and create this decentralized energy more viable. Right. So there are lots of ifs and buts conditions that go when we are trying to actually deploy a distributed energy solution. So the technology intervention perhaps can look into these areas and address it. The fourth bucket would be the famous IoTs, the Internets of Things. Yes, as things get complex, the IT systems, the digitization is more important. We got to engage into better forecasting methods, diagnostics methods, and also the cyber security that is of late an emerging concern, right? So this is the fourth bucket where I would say technology intervention matters. And the last but not least is the smart grids and grid code compliance per se, right? So because we are entering into a slightly different field, a little gray area, which along with the rest of the world also, we are doing that because of our scale of renewables, the pie on the overall energy portfolio. So it has its own complications in terms of addressing the grid stability per se. So I think the softwares and the technology interventions related to this subject would be my fifth bucket, I would say, on the technology part of it. Moving forward on the supply chain, yes, there is something that we need to do in solar yet on the wafer dependency, right? So we will grow on scale. And if you really see from a financial standpoint, most solar company, if not all, have this, they are subjected to a lot of variations and fluctuations in the market. The black swan effects is almost a daily story, right? So it's impossible for anybody to sit here and predict what would be the cost, let's say 12 months down the line, 24 months down the line. Right? So how do we bring in this certainty is by having more exposure into this value chain. And the most important part, it's not only for the solar industry, but also for the semiconductor industry as a whole. Yes, maybe we have gone into hibernation for a few decades. We have to wake up as a country and see that what are we going to do on the wafers and secure the cost, have control on the cost, and therefore the rest of the deployment can be focused there. And that's a very important part for the business, enabling a business case itself. The storage part, as I said, I wouldn't like to repeat that. And I think the behind the meter part is very important for building a steady supply chain demand. We have seen with some of the big OEMs, this has been one of their disturbances, that they're not seeing a steady flow of these BESS requirements. It comes in spikes. The third important piece in the supply chain is, of course, everybody talks about imports. The moment you say renewables, we are only talking about imports. So with my opening statement of aspiration, if I am the most preferred manufacturing hub of the world, we should also then start looking at some preferential export policies for going global. Why can't I export modules and be the most preferred supplier than perhaps China or anybody else, right? So to enable all of these, there is a brand that is required, a brand India, and one of the biggest facilitators or enablers for this is the testing facilities, right? So we've seen so many struggles what the OEMs undergo, even for a simplest of things of getting a BIS for inverters, right? We are not able to find a lab, long queues, and not enough facilities to test all these things together and give it a brand India touch. So I think the focus on the testing facilities is very understated here. It is very much important. Otherwise, we would end up becoming again a trading agency of importing stuff, deploying it here, rather than having our signature and exporting it back.